Paul Wildman, take 1, 9th to the 9th, Bush Mechanic Principles, Brisbane. Great. Folks, over the last decade I've spent hundreds of hours investigating the phenomena of, if you like, DIY. In Australia it's called bush mechanic, another term is artificer, in French it's bricoleur, in Hindi it's jugaad. There are a lot of cultures and languages that have this term for this hand knowledge, if you like, tooled hand knowledge. So what I've done is I've sought to determine what were the key principles across all the various types of bush mechanics. So you'd find people making boats, people doing permaculture, people reorganising their home after being disabled, say through a brain injury. You'd find people working in the arts area, creatively shaping stage props and other things like that. What I found was that there's a huge area of learning in our culture where thinking and doing are not differentiated. It can be called experiential learning, but it's more than that. It can be action learning, and it's more than that. Intentional action learning, it's more than that. Discovery learning, it's more than that. Yes, it's those, it's also that and more. And what I'd like to do now is to explain a little bit about what's so special about the bush mechanic. The bush mechanic is crucial in Australia because they represent, if you like, the artifice of ingenuity. They represent the lost arts, the rare trades, the ability of us to be able to work in a fix, to be able to, if you like, save the day with fencing wire and a little battery and various other innovations that we can see. The ABC has done a series on this of Indigenous, Aboriginal artificers and bush mechanics, the bush mechanics series, and it demonstrates this perfectly. And I'd like to, in a future vignette, go into the rationales and reasons I've found in my research, how it is that the Indigenous cultures so readily identify so vibrantly and robustly with this form of experiential learning, which I call artificer learning and also bush mechanic in the common parlance. Many say, well, why bother? They're dying off. The bushies are dying off. Well, I say, well, okay, that's very true. There's only a group of bushies in a collective sense. I think now you'll find some in South Australia, north of, say, Rockhampton. There's quite a few in northern Queensland and some in the Kimberleys and so forth. And there's not a lot compared to what there used to be, say, 80, 100 years ago, where every town would have its own restaurants with its own recipes, with its own furnaces and so forth, where they'd be able to fabricate, blacksmith, they would be able to turn out gears and so forth and so on. Those type of skills in even in growing plants, sewing clothes, fixing cars, fixing houses, fixing fences, all these skills have basically gone. So I believe that there's a crucial importance in this. If we look at what happens when the balloon goes up, when the apocalypse happens, what happened in the last depression, we find people want to use their hands, for the purpose of making a living. The system's broken down, the financial system doesn't work, there's very little employment around, and that's a crucial way forward. I interviewed my parents and all their friends, about a dozen of them, for my microeconomics assignment. Must have been 40 years ago. And unfortunately they're all dead now. That's one of the crucial things that came through: low debt and ability to work with your hands. And if you look at various post-apocalyptic books that have come out by Kunstler and so forth, you find people will need their hands. Now we've lost that skill. So I think it's very important, one, to respect our heritage, revere our heritage. Very, very important. And to learn the deep learnings of macro history from our heritage. And the second thing is to look forward to the uncertain future with food security and global warming and the collapse of the financial system. We're going to need those skills from our heritage, which we're throwing away casually now. So the main outcomes, the 6 principles were the main outcomes of my research, and those were the bush mechanic did an exemplar project, which was their best in class, which is like the journeyman's piece. It meant a lot to them. There was that inner world approach. They did it to help others. That's the social hold-on, I call the social hold-on principle. It linked into the big picture, global problematique. It linked into how their little project, my little project, exemplar project, would help the big picture. They had to harmonise all the bits and pieces so it would work, and finally there was a lot of deep learning involved in that, and they tried to help others with that. Now, that came out of applying grounded research over a period of years to a bush mechanic project I did, which was to build a boat with a bush mechanic. I was like the apprentice, or trades assistant, as you could call it. That's what I've done to walk my talk over 4 years. I did my own exemplar project, and I also worked with half a dozen other bush mechanics, keeping notes. I used grounded theory from my field journal. I then used learning insights, applied grounded theory to it under supervision of Professor Bob Dick, and we came up with these 6 particular insights. I've got heaps of resources available for you on our website, and also I can send you this documentation. It's on the end of the video clip here, the vignette. You'll see our website and my email, etc. Will the bushy rise again? Well, I think they will, post-apocalyptic. When the balloon goes up, when the crap hits the fan, yes. It'll be, though, everyone's learnt to be a consumer, not a prosumer, producer and consumer. We've forgotten those skills. We don't have the family skills, resources, don't have the community networks, giving, some apples across the fence or some tomatoes over the fence, and that sort of informal community or street market day. We don't have a community economy that links in and supports that. We don't have the processes. So my commitment is to try and understand the underlying processes that link all the different bush mechanic activities together. Rather than focusing on the activities, what are the commonalities? Not done very much. And you'll find, as I said, the resources available in 2 ebooks. There's 300 pages each and a whole bunch of other supporting information. This hugely important, if you like, gypsy phenomena. How can you get involved? Well, by all means you can. Drop us a line, start a support group, email, on the web, on the blog. I've got the blog as well, so I look forward to building, if you like, an affinity group globally within Australia and then globally on this basis. What's coming up in this series? Well, I hope you get interested in the series, and I'll try and develop my skills at YouTubing on the way through. But I'd like you to see that we'll have an interview with a bush mechanic. There's one I've already got on this site, Annette Canado, an interview with her, and I'll be interviewing other bush mechanics as, if you like, ethno-videographic commitment and respect for our heritage, and an attempt to try and make a little time capsule for after the collapse, so to speak. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and please be in touch and spread the word of the bushy is alive and supported through our networks. Bye.